when you dial it all back and look at what we can control and focusing on what we can control, it's educating our clients. How do we do that? Well, we articulate our value and share. One, we listen, going back to being present and listening to the person across from you, know their needs and what they want, and then be able to articulate what you're doing on the back end through the entire process, right? Why realtors are so needed.
Welcome to Stop Whining About Real Estate. Join us as we chat, sip, banter, and whine with the best in the biz. Grab a glass of your favorite vino, sit back, relax, and let's whine together. Good afternoon. Hello, hello. Welcome to Stop Whining About Real Estate. I am your host today, Sarah Birnbaum. With me is my co-host, Emmanuel St. Germain, CEO of Choice Mortgage Group, and our amazing, beautiful, wonderful guest today, Lexi Chiofalo, who is the Director of Agent Experiences at Keller Williams Realty. Welcome to our show today.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
We're
Honored
stoked
to be here.
Yeah.
Welcome, Lex. So quick little fun story about Lex. The last time we saw each other, we were running into... we're in Logan,
Yep.
So she can tell you about where she's from, but we were at Logan both trying to catch our flight back, and I see somebody waving at me, and I'm like, it's too far for me to make out, even though I'm wearing these rec specs, like I couldn't see who it was. And all of a sudden I'm like, because you're not expecting to see somebody at the airport, but it was very funny. And of course, we had a 4-hour flight delay. We watched the soccer game. So all good things. But welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
So let's get you started a little bit. Tell us a little bit about our back. Well, first of all, we've got this amazing champagne out. So let's get started with that. Sure. Obviously, we want to open it. Sarah's been waiting to have a cocktail all day.
We're going to wine with bubbles today.
Wine with bubbles. Ooh, even better.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So tell us about your background. And then let's get into specifically your experience with the champagne. And I know you got some cool stories for us too.
Absolutely. So before real estate, I was involved sales, marketing, on-premise in the food and beverage industry, working for Moet Hennessy and Diageo. Moet Hennessy is the MH of LVMH. So Veuve Clicquot, Dom Perignon, a lot of the big names globally. And Keller Williams is the #1 real estate company. So icons in their own right. I thought it would be fun today to do a little dive into why champagne is different than sparkling wine, and especially now in our industry when we're all talking about articulating our value and the difference in this, a standard, why champagne is champagne and why Prosecco and everything else is its own.
Yeah.
So without further ado, shall we?
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
All right. So first and foremost, we're going to open this bottle right here up at the tab. You'll see there's actually a little spot. Don't look too closely at my nails now. So not many people realize they try and make it as easy as possible for you. And a couple points on this. So it's actually pronounced Veuve Clicquot. Veuve Clicquot was founded in 1772 by Madame Clicquot. Her original name was Barbe Nicole Ponsardin. She was only 27 years old when her husband passed away. She had, I think, a 8-year-old daughter, Clementine. She took over the business. Before this, her father was in textiles, so she was well off, but got hands-on at the age of 27, and very soon after started changing the champagne industry altogether. So she was the first to introduce riddling racks, which are why champagne bottles are shaped the way they are. She was the first to introduce a vintage champagne. And for Veuve Clicquot specifically, this is the #1 champagne in the United States, #2 globally. A few facts about it here. You can see her on the top of every bottle on the cage. Mm-hmm. The name itself, Veuve, translates to widow, so in honor of her. Clicquot was the name of her family. Now, Yellow Label, this is its nickname. Everyone knows it by the label itself, so great branding. It's their flagship. So Yellow Label, you'll see, is a Brut style. It's led with Pinot Noir, about 60% Pinot, which provides the body, the structure. Hand me those glasses. Then we've got the Chardonnay, which is that refreshing, full palate. Then it's rounded out with a little Pinot Meunier. And as we started to explain in the beginning, champagne has its own regulations and standards. So Champagne, in order to be classified as such, has to come from the Champagne region of France. That's due to not only the terroir, so the limestone, the soil, but the standards and how they operate. So how the grapes are grown, how long the wine is matured. Typically on average, it's about 12 to 36. Veuve Clicquot almost doubles that standard and so forth. Thank you. I'm like, keep it going. So that's just a little bit about Veuve. Again, cheers.
Cheers.
Little bubbly.
Cheers.
So I didn't know any of that. That was really cool, especially the story about Mademoiselle Clicquot. I think that, I actually never even,
Notice that there was a face on it?
Yeah.
So
You'll never forget it now.
No, I won't. But do you know how, speaking of marketing and branding and things like that, and then we can kind of get into some of
We
your.
should take a sip because it's not
Yeah.
proper to cheers.
Cheers. Bad luck.
Apologies. And in my culture, you're supposed to, as you cheer, you're supposed to look at everybody in the eye. It's actually rude. Yes. We as Americans tend to go, hey, here you go. Although, do you know why we cheer? Do you know this story? Do you know how cheering started? So cheering,
what country?
Was a good one. My guess is going to be somewhere in Europe, but
obviously
the reason we cheer is that back in the day they would take their ale and they had these gigantic mugs and they would slam the mugs together, and the idea was for me to get some ale of mine into your cup. So if you were trying to poison me, you would get poisoned as well.
Oh my gosh.
Safety measure.
Yes.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yes. That is why we cheers.
What a fun fact.
Yes. So, but I don't know why we're in general though. Like in my culture, you're supposed
Cheers
to.
Me again.
You're supposed to like look the person in the eye, and it's a sign of respect and things
also,
like that.
There's bad omens that come with it in certain countries if you don't look a person in the eye when you're cheersing.
Exactly. Talk about an evolution. It's
Yeah.
Yes.
Come a long way.
fun.
All right. Back to branding. Back to the woman on the top of the corkscrew, the yellow, the noticeable box that we have standing behind, right next to you. These are all traits that obviously work very well. You work for one of the largest real estate companies in the world, and you are red is your branding. Tell us a little bit about the branding in general with the Keller Williams brand.
Absolutely. Great question. So Keller Williams, yes, it has a name, a great reputation, an icon of reach. We're the #1 training company in the world. So red is definitely the color, the visual. That's power. It's bold. It's an action. But when people think Keller Williams, they tend to think, and what we really hone in on representing is the culture behind it. So the values and who we are as a community, and really the servant leadership behind everything that we do. So right now is Mega Camp. It's going on. We have over 10,000 agents in Austin all
That's
gathered.
Mega Camp for.
Yeah.
What is that?
Mega Camp takes place every year. It's a Keller Williams event. Agents come out from all around the world for 3-4 days of keynote speakers and sessions. We had a quarterly market update yesterday led by industry leaders, Gary Keller, Jay Papasan. Today was a cultural summit. One of our own agents, Kim Nishizaki, was recognized on stage.
Very cool.
So absolutely amazing. When you think branding, yes, we're red and we're a leader in the industry, but we're also very value-based. And it's about providing that value and serving and caring for our people.
I've always had a question regarding, do you know that Lexi's office is right next to ours, and one of the things that's really cool with it is that I never knew. You guys call them market centers. So it's not an office, it's not a branch, and to a layperson, all right, number one, who came up with the term market center? Why do we call them market centers? And then essentially they're technically like franchises, right? Where, obviously, Gary Keller is the name of the brand, but there's different individuals that can own each market center, correct?
Absolutely right, yes. So larger operating franchises, Keller Williams, each office is independently owned and operated. Our office, our market center, was founded in 2007, opened by Andrew Barber, our broker. John Barber is our team leader. His brother, 30-plus years CPA experience. I mean, it's the best of the best in the industry that we work in, so...
Cool. How does so let's say if I'm an agent, how does we're in East Boca. You're the market center for East Boca. There's one in West Boca. That is not owned by the Barbars, so it's a different ownership group. From that perspective, if an agent is moving from New York, how do they choose East Boca, West Boca? Which market center are they choosing? Do they interview? What does that look like?
It's a great question. And ultimately, right, everyone has different needs that they're looking for a brokerage to support them. It could be that location is more important to them. So they'd rather, even though it's probably only 15 minutes away, they might want to be on the west side. For us, ultimately, it's leaning on the expertise of the leadership that we have, the agents that we have, and never reinventing the wheel because the systems and the models are there. But we are unique in the aspect
in the way that you do things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like
so
anywhere.
I guess you offer each market center offers its own kind of flavor, its own style, its own culture, maybe.
Absolutely.
And then it's up for that individual to pick and kind of figure out what makes most sense for them and how they fit.
Yes, beautifully said.
How do you create individuality in a market center? So, I think this is interesting, right? So, as an owner of a company who is expanding and we want to have branches everywhere and we're in our infancy of what that looks like. But as part of what a CEO does is the vision and the idea of seeing 5 years down the road, how do you get branches in Iowa and Colorado? How do you get them to have their own? Because I think it's important. I like the idea of having a little bit of your unique cultural aspects, but also buying into what Big Brother does, what your home base, what corporate does. So how have you guys carved yourself? What is your niche at your market center that's different than somewhere else?
Sure. So, consistency is paramount. And to a certain degree, as you alluded to, we follow our systems, our models, the franchise framework, but some very unique projects that are specific to us that we've really driven forward. I'll speak to Hugs. This was a local care group that was created. That was what Kim Nishizaki was recognized on stage for today.
What is Hugs?
Thank you. I was about to. So the first of its kind, Hugs came about in response to agent needs. There was a lot of just hardship going on in our market center, and agents needed support. So
I tried to implement something like this, but it didn't go the way I was.
It's tough.
I'm just kidding.
You need the right people, the hands on deck, and then at every turn, as you create a new system, there's a next step that you're following up with. So
this isn't actual Hugs.
No, in a way, it is. So Hugs stands for Hope, Understanding, Grace, and Service.
All right.
So it's a local organization specific to our market center, 722, where we support our agents in times of need, but also celebrate them in times of joy. So when agents have babies, we've done diaper drives. When a loved one has passed, we've done meal trains.
Family environment.
Family environment,
extension
exactly. That extension of culture. So that's one element that's unique to us and now being recognized on a global stage today, which was incredible.
Really cool.
So shout out big time to the Hugs team and leadership. It's grown tremendously within the past year and excited to see the reach moving forward. Now, back on the value education side of things, 2 programs that we've launched this past year, revamped, that have been very exciting. One was called WIN. So WIN stands for Work It Now, understanding that you got to work it to win. So a lot of people get into real estate or any industry not always ready to do the legwork.
You don't say.
You don't say, just like anywhere. So it's knowing that although it's great to learn, we don't want to become a professional student. You need to start taking action and implement what you're learning. And that comes with, yes, getting the right training, but surrounding yourself with the right people and getting after it. Just like Nike, just do it. And at Family Reunion back in February, another KW event, Mel Robbins, great author. If you ever listen to her podcast, You Can Do Hard Things. Highly recommend.
And add it
Do
to
you
my
know
list.
Sarah's never listened to a podcast?
No.
That came out today. I gave her a little homework. Like, Sarah, I think you need to listen to a couple podcasts. And then I was like, Sarah, don't. So, all right. I constantly like to learn.
Yes, yes.
I get bored really quickly. I need to learn.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, Sarah, when you listen to these podcasts, forget what the person is saying. Just listen to how the host is asking questions, how they're introducing, because we're always about getting better.
Yeah.
Right. Gotta learn, you gotta grow.
So he said, what podcast do you listen to? And I said, I've got to be honest when I'm driving because I've spent all day listening and learning from you.
That's not what she said.
I'm done listening.
She's talking about agents.
I'm done listening.
To agents.
I listen to people talk all day long and sparking conversation and making small talk and trying to pull information out of people. So when I get in the car, I like to listen to music.
Sure.
And so when he said to me, when you're driving around, just start listening to podcasts. And I thought to myself, I know where he's going with this, and there's great value to what he's trying to say to me because he wants me to become better and he wants me to continue to learn and fine-tune my skills or gain skills that I don't have, and I get it. But my response was, I enjoy listening to music, and I listen to him all day, and I'm learning from him and everybody else all day.
No, it's very different, though. Listening to me is only one type of person, one type of personality, which we'll talk about the disc profile in just a second. I'm going to use that as a segue. But the reason, so for me, what I like, and I think one of the things that, that I try to use to my advantage, I remember playing basketball when I was a kid, and I remember having one of these coaches or going to a camp. And, they said, if you want to be a point guard, and I'm right-handed, and they say, if you want to be a point guard, what you need to do is you need to learn to brush your teeth with your left hand. You need to try cooking with your left hand. You start doing different things. And to me, the concept is, all right, on your way home tonight, take a different road, right? Open up your mind, open up your perspective. And what most people have is they have blinders on their vision, and they can't see anything beyond straight what's in front of them. And in order to get your creative mind, in order to have things open up where you can see things, you can get great ideas, sometimes you just have to, you're still going home, right? We're not doing anything different, but we're just going to take a different road. And next thing you know, we're going to say, oh, I never noticed that sign before. Oh, look at that tree. When did that house get built? And what that does is it's opening up, I don't know the neurological aspects behind the science of it because I'm certainly no doctor.
You should listen to a podcast about it today.
Well, I'm almost finished watching this show on medicine, and I feel like there's an honorary medical degree coming after watching this show because I've seen so much of it. But no, it's not that one. It's called The Resident. But anyways, point being was simply like try something new. And to your point, it doesn't, what you'll notice about podcasts is like fun. Like I'm not telling you to go listen to real estate ones. Listen to anything you want.
Yeah.
Anything that you find interesting. So if it's music, listen, there are different podcasts on music. It can be anything you want. But I just feel like it's an opportunity to hear and listen and to get better. But where were we? We're segueing into...
I'm going to share some starter episodes with you.
Fantastic. I can't wait.
Love it. So we were talking about... So one of the things I wanted to ask, because Sarah is credited and does a great job with maintaining and part of building our culture for our company. And a big part of that is the hiring process, which has never been our forte, self-admittedly, for us. I think that part of it is... From my perspective, I'm way too easy, believe it or not, because I look at one of my mistakes, and one of the things that part of growth is looking at the other person and understanding, putting myself in your lens, not my lens, and seeing it through that way. Right. And meaning that, you're not going to work as hard as I do. Like you may not, I don't know, but I can't just make that assumption. And wanting to give people the benefit of the doubt. So the hiring process, the disc profile, in terms of what you guys do, is your hiring process. Tell me about your hiring process in terms of maintaining how it also, and is your culture part maintained with that?
Great question, and a lot of key points there. So Keller Williams has its own personality assessment called the KPA that we offer.
Do you know Andrew had me take that, by the way?
Did he really?
Yes. Take a guess.
Spill the tea.
Take a guess what job I'm most equipped for.
Team leader. I mean, broker. I
Loan officer.
I didn't even know that was an option.
I didn't either.
KPA.
They created it when he took the test.
I didn't either. He asked me all these
They're
questions.
like,
I'm
this
like,
is
oh,
the only
makes
thing
sense.
he's qualified for, loan officer.
Sorry, back to you. But yes, I took the test, and it's a great test compared to the DISC test, because the DISC test is
Different.
DISC for me is easy to manipulate. You know, you see the question, you know what they're asking. You know, if you answer it this way, you're going to sound arrogant. You know, if you answer it this way, you sound weak. Like you can predict how you're going to come out, especially if you've done it more than once.
Sure.
Your your test, the questions were like totally out of left field, and as a really analytical person, I couldn't tell where we were going with this. So you just
wanted
have
to try to understand the test so you could manipulate it to the answers that you wanted.
It's not about manipulating
and you
it,
were
but
having a hard time getting there.
It's analyzing. It's not manipulating the answers, but it's true. Like some of the questions, like you've taken it, right? The questions have nothing to do with anything. Like they obviously do, but they're not. There's no direct line from A to B in the question. Therefore, it's really hard to try and figure
Show
out
the
what
way
they're
you want
trying
to show.
Right. Sometimes you can see
not show, but try and figure out what they're trying to get to.
Of course.
Right.
Well, the idea is they're not trying to get to anything. They want you to answer honestly so that way you end up with the result that you're supposed to. You are used to, because you are, a thinker, you go into something understanding how it is going to be perceived, be understood, be digested, be the result. You kind of see that first. And so this test tripped you up because it didn't have that obvious.
Right.
Trip sounds negative. Like, there's no failing the test. So it didn't trip me up.
Pinpoint it per se.
I just couldn't get to the spot where I was understanding where we were going with it. I didn't understand that the questions, like, what's that have to do with it? How are you going to find what I'm good at based on that question?
Sure did, though.
So, yeah.
Amazing.
Well, it was true, obviously.
Yeah, the KPA, the DISC profile, the one other that still stands out to me and so incredibly impressive. We don't utilize it, but the Strength Finder by the Gallup report.
I've actually taken that one.
And how long ago did you take it? Do you remember?
I took it in the beginning.
What was your strength? Podcast?
A natural born.
Actually, no, that was at the end of the list. Thank you very much. You're lucky that I do this every week.
It was probably listening.
No. Mine was, it was leadership. It was, I have it. I did it for Leadership Academy for our world. I was in Leadership Academy in 2022. And it was the first thing that they had us do.
Wow.
I'll get them for us.
There's so many of those tests. There's one my mom keeps wanting me to take. I forget what it is.
Just take it.
It's not like I do anything else during my free time.
Is it verbal? You can do it on the way home from work?
No. I think it's one of these, like, you have to download. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. It's effort.
But going back to the root of your question, right? Hiring people on, ultimately, it's mutual understanding. Someone comes in, they have their own goals, personal and professional. We're sitting down, and it's a meeting of the minds, and it's a compromise on value and understanding of if we can meet in the middle. Everyone has a history, a backstory, but oftentimes they have patterns that they repeat. So when you truly are present and asking the right questions and listening to them, even as I'm talking about this, notice how I'm slowing down now. In the beginning, we started, I was wound up from the day. It'd been go, go, go. But no, if you
We've been known to be very relaxing for people.
You are relaxing. I came in, your office was so quiet. I was like, oh, this is nice.
Well,
You can come over anytime you want.
I don't like hearing that.
Everybody was working. Type.
But point being, everyone is different. Where was I going with this?
Figuring out if it's a good
relaxed.
I think just figuring out it's going to be a good match. Understanding what they're looking for, what they want out of a company, out of support, out of their career.
Yes.
Knowing what you can provide.
Yes.
Figuring out if that works. Understanding where they've come from. why certain things have not worked out in their past.
Right.
And if that's something that, you know, fits for you guys.
And the longer we're in this, the industry, the business, you start to already know some of the patterns or have the proactive solutions to some of those questions to be able to get them in the right direction. So really it's just being present with people and real and transparent and making sure that both sides are getting that ROI.
You guys have a lot of agents. What's the percent of agents that go into an office?
Ooh, on a day-to-day?
Sure. So like one of the, you know, like back in the day, a role like Sarah's would have been in business development, would have been to go to lots of different offices. Like title reps way back in the day used to bring donuts, and they stop, or they still do for us, but like pop by and do that stuff. Yeah. In today's, you know, marketplace, for the most part, most of the top agents that we know, at least, and again, it doesn't mean that yours aren't, but a lot of the top agents aren't necessarily going into the office, the market center in your place. So what percentage of agents do you think typically go? And if they don't go, why is it?
So a couple things to that. I think COVID naturally changed a lot across all industries of people's habits going into the workplace. We often find, right, that's also a mission for us, is when people isolate, they tend to shut down personally, professionally. The more you lose them, chances are you're not going to be able to keep them. So we try to provide the education, the culture to draw them in. On an average, really, there's big events or key classes like Florida education workshops or celebration of heritage. That's, you know, a big culture event, which brings in more people. On a given week, 60, 70, which
In office?
in office,
But out of how many?
200 or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're getting 25% people coming into the office during the week. Okay. That's still pretty good.
We had a risk aversion training last Thursday. So much fun. We had 183 for that.
That's huge.
It was mandatory.
Got it.
We're going to do a next session. But no, it is a balance because we understand where they're coming from as well. Everyone has busy lives. Everyone is juggling personal, professional, trying to do it all. So it becomes also clearly communicating what should be priority for them, because it's targeted communication and sharing as well. People need different things.
Let's talk about special treatment, right? So privileges, define what a capper is, and is a capper treated differently because of their production?
Great question. So for those that are not familiar with the term capping, the capping model is something that Keller Williams follows. It was created a few years after the company was founded back in 1983. Gary Keller saw his best people getting poached. He said, how do I keep my best people happy? Well, naturally, you reward that drive and that motivation. So the capping model essentially limits what we take, and our agents' earnings are unlimited. So there's a set number, and I'm not sure if I'm able to
Doesn't
speak
matter.
to
Number
it.
doesn't matter.
It's a very attainable, especially in our South Florida market. Agents could hit it first, second transaction. On average, it takes about 3 to 4. But there's a gross commission income, a number to hit. Once you hit that mark, you cap. And for the remaining anniversary year, so that year mark of when that agent joined, they would earn 100% of their commission. So whether they're closing 2 deals for the rest of the year or 10, 12, et cetera, they're taking home all of that for themselves. And there aren't many brokerages, if any, that provide that. And what's beautiful, too, to see is our agents who are at a point now where they're getting in a groove and they start attaining it sooner and sooner. So Tim Kinsler, we just celebrated him capping today. He capped in just 2 months. We have another on the way who will cap in less than 45 days. So again, it goes back to, are you motivated? Are you hungry? Are you going to dig down and get your hands dirty?
Go get them, Tiger.
We want to reward that. So
Very cool. Yeah, my industry we can't do that. So don't ask to do that, Sarah. It's not an option.
And we do have extended education and special classes for our cappers. We have special events. We're constantly trying to revamp what we're offering. Again, it's an amazing group of agents. They're not just top producers, but they're also taking the time to educate and train our agents. So these are the people who have been on the front lines, hands-on, and are then teaching these classes for the next generation.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I want to shift a little bit and talk about you, because I think the way that you've come into this position, especially with your background, is pretty interesting. So you were in food and beverage, and we can talk about that in a second, because I have a lot of food and beverage background, and I think it plays an important role in both of our current roles. But you started with Keller Williams as an agent, and then you quickly became not an agent.
Yes.
How did that happen? Was the role there before you? The role that you're currently in?
So it was not actually.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I joined as an agent February of 2023. It was actually 2/23/23.
I like that date.
Okay.
I remember it very vividly. And I was so immediately, and keep in mind, my first trip to the office was back in October. So I had not even passed my state exam at that point. A fellow friend from Pure Bar said, you have to come to a chili kickoff, a team event, come check it out. So came to the office, I keep saying office, to the market center. And it was just instant, when you feel kinship and at home. And so I joined as an agent in February, and very quickly, from starting to go to the office daily, being around the leadership team, Andrew, John, Ramona, Naomi was out on maternity, Javi, I was blown away by the people surrounding me. And some pretty naturally, I don't remember exactly, but we started to have conversations of, well, what if? We're growing in this way. This is a vision with your background. Maybe we could grow this together. So this is where the Director of Agent Experience role came about. Bit of an assistant team leader, we all wear a lot of hats. So we've got an incredible group. But I mainly help with our agent onboarding, our recruiting, as well as our market center communications. And a couple of things I thought you would appreciate this, Emmanuel. Couple big projects that we've worked on, being that I came aboard as a licensed agent with that point of view, knowing how overwhelming it can be for so many. We're a big systems and models company. So one of the key systems that we've implemented within this has been a 30, 60, 90 roadmap for our agents. So being proactive, knowing that path through an agent's eyes, helping break down step by step from the moment that we complete that appointment to them joining the board, signing on, starting to build their business, market themselves, learn the technology, hyperlinking the tools and the resources, just constantly trying to revamp.
A lot of that is going to be really solid for someone who's trying to break into the real estate career. What percentage of recruiting would you say is going to be first-time realtors that are joining? Because I think like the industry in general, Keller Williams has always had a reputation of having great training and really investing in training, a lot of systems and processes. Are you able to retain top earners once they get there? Or is the model always going to be go to KW, crush it, learn everything you can, soak it up because they're great trainers, and then, go somewhere else or don't, or start your own or whatever happens. I don't know.
Sure. I think it could be said on both sides. I'm sure there are some people that no matter what will have that mindset, but ultimately you're constantly learning, you're constantly growing. How are you improving yourself? But beyond the training and the education, I think a couple key things that Keller Williams provides for their agents that keeps people, not beyond the culture, profit share, our passive wealth building program. I mean, that's a great way for agents to just make side income. I mean, you also have... As
you hire, kind of like a hierarchical...
Yeah, so the way it would work, you every everyone, when they join Keller Williams, names a sponsor. So whoever introduced them to the company really motivated them to join anywhere around the world. They would then be named as their sponsor. And in the future, when that transaction closes, your sponsor earns when you earn. And it starts off small. Think of it like a family tree, a trickle-down effect. It's 7 levels. And as you build your downline, your passive wealth building increases. And the 21st of every month, it's paid out. So year to date, our market center has shared out over $166,000 with our agents involved in profit share.
Yeah, I'm sure Sarah would love to have that.
So we try our best to think long-term, big picture, future.
Well, I think also the capper program in itself is a way to keep your higher producers, because it's all about, the split.
Exactly.
For them. I mean, like, so for us, we're kind of the opposite. Anyone who is
the longer they're here, we beat us down.
No, that's not true.
Putting me in there.
No. But no, for it's very rare. Like, the size of a company today, in order to want to take on a brand new green loan officer, you would have to be very large. There's not enough time. Mm-hmm. The mortgage companies currently are not generating the revenue that we want to invest in newbies at the moment. If you're going to invest any time and resources, it's going to be on a Sarah, on a branch manager, on a loan officer. It says, Sarah, how do I get you to double your business? That is a better, highest and best use of my time than it is to try and train someone who's brand new. So it's a very different model. I think the obviously it works for you guys. That's what you guys are doing. So I think it's an interesting play. To kind of see, and I love the onboarding stuff. That I've always gotten along very well with KW agents, just because of all the systems and processes, and because you're trained so well that it makes I have to do a lot, do I want to say it? I have to do a lot less babysitting of the transaction. Hand-holding
is a better word.
Well, hand-holding would be more for the client, but I have to do a lot less babysitting of the transaction, when I'm dealing typically with a KW agent. So you guys do a great job. So
thank you. And we love to hear that. And it's true that professionals do stand out, and it's wonderful to have. You mind passing me that water?
No, of course not.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be able to rely.
Segue the professionals part into what we were talking in terms of NAR, and you originally, when we opened up, talking about the VOV. So, tons and tons of stuff. The rest of the world is going to open up on 17th. Mm-hmm. We locally opened up yesterday. What are we, the 14th? Yeah, yesterday, all the changes. And it's already happened. I have a client who calls me up and says, hey, I'm making an offer on a property. I need a pre-approval letter. And I said right away to him, I said, have you gotten your buyer broker agreement? And he goes, yes, it's right here for 3%. I said, okay. I said, have you signed it? He goes, no, not yet. I go, well, how much is the seller contributing to that, your buyer's agent's commission? He goes, what do you mean? Right? And I think this for me is the part where what bothered me about the interaction is the fact that agent merely just sent a document over to be signed, but didn't explain exactly how it works, what the repercussions were, there's just the specificity of the entire deal. And, it turned out that he followed my advice. The seller is paying 2.5%. I said, okay, so you're going to be responsible for 0.5% out of your side. Are you okay with that? And he said yes, but it's not my job to do that. And what I certainly don't want to do is I don't want to, we're brothers in arms in this industry. And the last thing that I want to do is telling a consumer, you can negotiate that. You don't have to pay him 3%. If the seller's only paying him 2.5%, you can tell your agent you're only willing to pay him 2.5%. I don't want to be the one saying that's not my place. Right. Consumers need to educate themselves. And the last thing I'm going to do is, cut off my nose to spite my face. Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
because I'm getting referrals from agents. So I'm not going to tell a consumer how to negotiate with an agent. That's not my place to say.
It's so true. And when you
peel back the layers of it all, because there's been so much noise and so much buildup up into this point, and I'm sure it's only going to get a little bit more haywire because we're all going through this for the first time. So something's going to happen, then there will be a follow-up question, and then another piece implemented. But when you dial it all back and look at what we can control and focusing on what we can control, it's educating our clients. How do we do that? Well, we articulate our value and share. One, we listen, going back to being present and listening to the person across from you, know their needs and what they want, and then be able to articulate what you're doing on the back end through the entire process, right? Why realtors are so needed, that professionalism, that care to walk you through the process to a higher standard. You don't just want to walk into a dive bar and throw
Once
back
in
any
a while,
puppy.
they're fun, though. Once in a while. But yeah.
Not for your
not
biggest
to-
No,
purchase
no,
of
I
your
get it.
life.
Exactly, right. You're talking huge
Life-changing, yeah.
milestones. So putting that trust in someone's hands is monumental. So ultimately, it's going to be a conversation, relationship building, negotiation, articulation of value.
Here's where it's going to be a really large issue for people. And a year from now, this will be nothing. But in the next 6 months, where things are going to get really dicey is as rates come down, what's going to happen, unfortunately, to both buyer's agent and listing agents, is that you're going to have a seller, Sarah the seller, when all of a sudden has 10 offers, they're going to all of a sudden want to renegotiate their listing agreements because why am I contributing so much? Because everything in life is about supply and demand. And right now we have a bit of a buyer's market where buyer can take a little bit more of their time. Sellers aren't in full control. They're not getting full asking. But the second rates go down, we're very close to getting into the fives. As we get into the fives, demand is going to pick up tremendously. When demand picks up and when Sarah is getting 10 offers on her house, the value of the listing agent now is no longer the same. And that buyer better be prepared that Sarah is not going to give a dime to pay that other agent. Right. So everyone's cash to close. That's what's going to happen, which will take 3 to 6 months. And that is what you're going to see, that the consumer, that's where there's a disconnect. I think the agents that, using professionalism as that word, the agents that use professionalism, that know how to give their value add and understand that it's not so easy to just get your 3% anymore.
Right.
You're going to have to truly show value. You're going to have to truly show what the steps are that you're doing. And I think you are going to have a little bit of a cleaning out, so to speak, of agents who don't follow a system. You don't have to have a ton of experience. In fact, sometimes the people who have the most experience are the hardest to train because they want to do it their way.
Yes.
And sometimes the most successful people are the ones who don't question their bosses and they just do what they're told. That's no, but in all seriousness,
I'm here.
No, but in all seriousness, it's true. Like, if someone gives you a script and they say, I promise this script works, right? The people who end up having the greatest success is the one who, I hate to say it, is not smart enough to go outside the lines. Just follow the script.
It is so true. And to plug Mel Robbins again.
She's on my list.
She has a book, a rule called the 5-second rule. And it's just that. It highlights the actual chemistry within our brains. And when you count back from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just immediately jump into action, no hesitation, no getting lost in your own delay of your mind, that's when the magic happens, the courage in those little moments. So it's a call to action of pick up that call and don't be afraid to cold
Talk
call.
to people.
The 5-second rule that I was thinking of is something that we can segue into your working in restaurants type stuff that you guys wanted to talk about.
Well, quickly, yes. And then I have, yes. So I worked in food and beverage and restaurants and hospitality. You as well. We're both now.
So did I, by the way. I bartended once.
Once.
No. I was
one
a
time,
waiter.
one night?
No. I was a waiter. Dishes.
That one day.
I was a bar back, bartender, waiter. All of it. That's why
I don't know if you know
that's
all
why
these.
I'm so customer service
I
oriented.
don't know if you know all of these positions because of Bounce and now you understand
not at
them,
all.
or because you actually were.
No, 86. The comments, Sarah.
Oh,
To
wow.
be fair, I think you did mention you were a dishwasher at the airport on our
What's that?
delay. I do recall you sharing the.
Oh yeah, I worked at a place called Cape Netic Lobster Pound for years and years and years. It was awesome.
What I wanted to get to is I think, people that work in food and beverage have a greater success in doing a lot of other things in life beyond that because of just the skill it takes to work with people every day, make really unhappy people happy, make them want to come back, make them, your favorite. So how does that kind of work for you? Because this role was created for you, much like my role was created for me here at Choice. So how do you think that kind of all ties together?
It so does. You're right. We have so many hospitality people that come into the real estate industry, and it is such a versatile skill set. It's oftentimes business development mindset, but you also having that ability to communicate, interact with people, thinking on your toes. There's definitely a lot.
Wearing a lot of hats.
Wearing a lot of hats.
Having that empathy chip.
You
Big time empathy.
you probably get told like I do that you got to scale back the niceness, right?
Sometimes. I
Yeah.
used to more. The older I've gotten, no, just kidding.
So what's next? What's next in your career? How do you grow? What do you see yourself in this position forever? Do you see what do you see?
So great question. One that I ask myself often because I also forever will be programmed as a constantly learning, constantly growing, thinking about those next steps. And I don't have a clear answer. I'm quite open-minded in that sense. Certain passions and fields definitely correlate, but I'm going to keep some of it a surprise. I will say being with Keller Williams and an industry leader of real estate has been the best introduction to all facets. So I really am so grateful to our team, to everyone that I've met. So to think what's next, I'm still actively licensed. I do absolutely want to continue building that business, but also on the side, I love art and writing. So I have my own passion projects where I want to publish a children's book. I want to publish my website with my photography and my writing. Personally thinking about the things that matter, it's family and friends. My parents are getting older. I want to be spending time with them. So as much as I'm professionally motivated, I'm also protective of my time and energy and how it's being invested and constantly thinking about how I can continue to make the right choices and prioritize the right things.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that a lot.
Very cool. So Sarah, you want to tell her on what we're building?
In as far as your
role, not me.
Oh, my role. Yeah. So Emmanuel has heard me multiple times, I guess. He listens, that I
A little twitch there.
I want to grow and, have some sort of team or people or things underneath me. And I know that, we're kind of looking at different branches, as he mentioned earlier, and kind of growing with them and then offering a business development sort of build out for them as their own branch. So helping them hire biz dev, helping them onboard and train and really kind of oversee them. And then I would be their checkpoint. So, what's working, what's not, let's pivot, let's, work on some other things and just overseeing and kind of being the mother hen, if you will, of the biz dev of all of the future branches and really kind of building that out, which is cool because I think I love what I do. And I really, really enjoyed it. Doesn't feel like a job most days. But also, overseeing people and helping them grow in their role, I think also feeds into a part of what I naturally love to do and feel like I do a good job at.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
that's the ultimate recognition of trust and respect for the reputation that you've built.
Yeah, thank you.
It's only great things to come.
Thank you.
So I think you undersell it in certain parts, though. No, but here, watch. How many of all the lenders that you guys deal with, how many of them do you know that have a business development person?
And hopefully no one holds it against me. Not that no one truly comes to mind. I mean, there's names of people, but no, there's
So
no.
it goes to show that the role is really unique. And so for us, that's a huge, like, you're saying it off the cuff because for us, it's off the cuff because we work like that. But I think what I meant by what you're undervaluing is the idea of what you're in the project of working on and trying to build is something that there's gigantic mortgage companies that have 500 million more resources than we have, but they don't think of this stuff.
Right.
You know, they're not seeing themselves in a branch manager sitting in New Jersey and saying, why am I going to come work for this company in South Florida?
Right.
You know, well, all right, here's one of our value adds. We're going to show you how to increase your revenue by putting in a business development person. We're going to have that business development person help you hire. Hiring is one of the most hardest things. I already admitted it. I suck at it, right? So hiring, then you got to train them. And then after that, you still have to, someone has to manage them. And I think that the issue that with most people is that, salespeople anyways, is that even if you give them great ideas, they don't execute.
That's a lot of work.
Getting it, you said it, that's the impediment to execution is work. And if we can take the work away from them, but they can see A to B, the results, meaning the additional volume, and volume for us means money, that's how it works. Yeah. So I think you're underselling, but because what you're working on is going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited
And I think a year from now, when you step back and like, I don't know, I have this vision of her on her Teams call with all of our biz dev people throughout the country and like just really, really cool stuff. So.
It's a personal testament to the brand that you've built, and that's one of the things I'm truly passionate about, and it's true across all industries, is ultimately at the end of the day, you are your own representation. Absolutely. So everything that you've done before today, everything that you'll do moving forward, it's the legacy you're leaving behind, which little Keller Williams for you there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if any agents want to be a part of your market center, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you guys?
Absolutely. So I think I have our office phone number memorized. You can reach us at 561-824-4000. No, but
that was good.
Reaching out to myself, my email, Lexi Chiofalo at kw.com. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook, Keller Williams East Boca. Reach out to our team leader, John Barber, a huge name in the industry and constantly sharing out value. So lots of ways to get in touch with us. But
I just realized I've been saying their name wrong. I always say Barbar, and you say Barber.
Actually, Barber.
You say it with like it sounds like an E, but it's not an E at the end.
Barbar.
It's Barbar.
No, it is Barber.
Barber.
It's Barber.
With an E or with an A?
Like you're going to the
With an
barber
A.
shop.
Barbar.
Barber.
You say Barber. I say Bar. I don't know what's right. I'll have to ask him.
I've always
You're
said
going to ask him?
Barber.
Yes, I'm going to say, hey. I mean, first off, it's very much like if I had food in my, like stuck between my teeth, like you say something.
Yeah.
Like you're not being
You would
nice,
say something
not
to
saying
everybody?
Just about.
Yeah.
Although I didn't yesterday. We had a presentation.
Was it me?
What's today? Wednesday? We had a presentation on Monday, and this agent was walking, and I noticed I could see the tag that says like size 6 and like whatever was stuck on her pants. And I wanted to say something, but I don't know her. And I was like, she's already gonna be embarrassed enough that she's walking around and was in a meeting with her. She was in a meeting with 125, 150 people.
And you didn't say anything?
I didn't notice it till when we were leaving and she was in the elevator. But would you say something if you saw, like, are you the kind of person that says something?
Probably. I would, although now that you share, it was after the fact. after the meeting, how
there was
much
no
would
win.
it do at that point? If anything, it might plant the thought of, oh, the tag was hanging out the entire meeting.
She's going to find out anyway.
She is, but I didn't need to come from me.
Right.
If I noticed it early and I could have saved the day, from the horrific tag incident, then, of course, that as long as someone's filming and we get it all like, watch this, I'm going to save her.
I think my problem with food in people's teeth is I want to tell them, but I get pre-embarrassed for them. And then I am feeling, I guess, anxious for them because I know I'm about to embarrass them. And then I've got to build up to tell them that they've got food in their teeth.
See, I think about it as if someone didn't tell me.
And then you were found out and you're like, this person talked to me for the last 10 minutes and
Right.
did not mention that I have food in my teeth.
Right.
Yeah, so I go back and forth on that. If it's somebody that I know well, I'll stop them and be like, hey, your tooth.
I think that
But I go through all the emotions of it. I
Right.
get embarrassed for them first and then have to.
I think there's a polite way to do it. If we're standing in a circle, you can kind of tap them, whisper. You don't have to make a big deal out of it. Like,
It depends.
hey,
You would
everyone,
make-
look at me.
You would, if it was me, you would make a big deal.
I wouldn't.
Hey,
make a big
Sarah, your tag's sticking out.
deal. There's toilet paper on your shoes.
Hers is, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes. But awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show with us, Lexi. It was amazing to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Okay, that's enough whining for one day. We are so happy that you could join us today on Stop Whining About Real Estate. So please, not only listen, but subscribe, follow us, download, share, and if you're feeling it, give us a 5-star review. Hey, and if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email stopwhining@choicemortgage.com. Thanks so much.